Alright, welcome back. We're back at Chapter 5, and without further ado, let's get into it. The Prefecture under siege. The searing sun looms high in the sky above the rebellious city. The square in front of the Prefecture is packed with commoners. Just a moment ago, they boldly demanded that the judges and gendarmes side with the rebellion. But now they are terrified. They fear the noble army that is coming for them. Their calls for rebellion are gone, replaced by frightened screams. Hooves thunder against the cobblestones. The earth quakes beneath their feet. The noble militia led by Dorius Otten carves a path through the human sea. The terrified rebels scatter as the riders approach. The gendarmes remain where they are, forming a tight circle around the prefecture and Elborn. The prefect calls out to the crowd, his voice hoarse. Everyone stay calm. Let them through. Do not draw your weapons. Otten's riders push the mob aside and eventually reach the tall building. The Archnean commander draws his reins only when the gendarmes are all that separate him from the prefecture stairs. Yeah, a lot of typos. Prefect Elborn, how dare you disobey the orders of the province's rightful rulers? You have abused your position to appease the rebels and defy imperial rule. This inconceivable rebellion is your fault. It's time for you to accept your well-earned punishment. In the name of Archduke Milanitis, I hereby order you and your gendarmes to surrender your weapons. The supreme judge of the prefecture maintains his composure in the face of this reclamation. I only obey the laws of the Empire, Sir Otten, not you or your runaway Archduke. Otten's face contorts into a predatory grin. Excellent. You've had your chance to save face, old man. Instead of a dignified execution, you and your cronies will hang, like the foul rebel you've betrayed for us. Otten lifts his sword skyward, prepared to order an assault. The riders behind him are about to attack. The gendarmes ready their clubs. Their hands are trembling. They will not stand a chance against the noble cavalry. The mob begins to shift, about to flee the square. The fate of this moment hangs by a thread. Well, not many options here. We can overthrow Elborn, or we can stay out of it. If we overthrow Elborn, we'll get a +1 to the revolt. Either way, it looks like Elborn's gonna die. Let's stay out of it, I think. You observe their conflict as an indifferent bystander. Well, that sucks, but gotta keep yourself safe. You and your followers observe the heated struggle at the stairs of the prefecture from a distance. It is too late to get involved. All you can do now is watch and save your strength for the future. With a furious scream, Otten orders the noble militia to attack the prefecture's defenses. Cut the traitors down, no mercy. The cavalry turns to face the gendarmes with an onslaught of sharp steel. Bones crack beneath hooves. Swords slice through the air. The stench of blood fills the square as fallen bodies dissipate into glimmering dust. Prefect Elborn shouts to the people for aid, but his voice is drowned out by the cacophonous fray. The common folk know that the prefecture will collapse without support, but their deeply ingrained fear of the noble warriors is too strong. The human sea that once filled the square dries up in a blink of an eye. The gendarmes falter against the surging noble cavalry. Their lines break. With no one to support them, they surrender their arms. The gendarme captain leads Elborn to Otten. Please spare our lives, Sir Otten. My men and I. We'll swear loyalty to you. The Archnean gracefully dismounts, ignoring the captain's pleas. Time to die, Elborn, but I am no butcher. You may be a traitor, but you are still known as a man of honor. You deserve a nobleman's justice. So draw your sword, Elborn. It is time for you to learn that the court of honor is the only true trial. Elborn meets Otten's words with a bitter chuckle. The old man does not stand a chance against one of the most skilled swordsmen in Margra. Dying in a barbaric ritual I've fought against all my life. I suppose there's no changing this world after all, is there? Otten and Elborn cross swords. Elborn has grown unaccustomed to holding a sword, and it shows. The prefect's stance leaves much to be desired. He waves the blade around clumsily, leaving himself open to an attack. With a single riposte, Otten guides his blade straight into the old man's heart. Just another arrogant human. All this trouble just because of him. As for the gendarmes, kill them. A lesser death suits them well. This rebellion will be dead and buried by the time they make their way back from the hereafter. And be quick about it. We still have to breach the city gate. Please, listen to us. The noble riders quickly cut the prisoners' entreaties and lives short. Their uniformed bodies fall on the stairs of the prefecture, soon evaporating into a cloud of glittering mist. Once they are dealt with, Otten rides away with his cavalry, scattering the pathetic remnants of the rebellious mob. The prefecture is no more. Elborn and his gendarmes have been removed from the equation. They will not be there for the final clash. Your men have been keeping an eye on the city. They tell you that the procession to the Silver Tree has already begun. Abbot Lennart and his followers are on their way to elect the new patriarch before the common folk and the twins themselves. The fate of the feud between the two faiths will be decided by this clash at the Silver Tree. You have to be there. You ready your men and head to the Temple of the Tree. Boy, that was rough. Elborn is dead now. Not sure what we could have done there. A lot of bloodshed. The March of the New Faith. An enormous sea of humanity flows through Anazote, filling the streets of the Temple District. They are led by Abbot Lennart. The new believers walk peacefully behind him, many of them women and elderly. They are unarmed. Their faces show neither fear nor anger. They are so drastically unlike the throngs of rebels who are currently ransacking streets and looting noble houses. The procession slowly makes its way toward the Temple of the Silver Tree. The temple has always been where patriarchs of the church accept their sacred duty, along with the heavy burden of responsibility for the flock before the twin gods. When a patriarch speaks, the twins pay heed. In every 8 years, it falls upon the patriarch to proclaim in their sight how their world is humbly following the lot it has been given. Long, long after the twins descended to our world, the patriarchs came to be elected at the conclave by the clergy. This tradition has continued for many years. Today, dozens of priests have come to the temple in spite of the unrest to conduct the rite and spare the twins' world from their wrath. But now thousands of commoners are walking to the same temple to elect the new patriarch themselves. You and your followers take a side street to the temple, avoiding the immense procession. Soon the square by the tree is packed, teeming, overwhelmed. But the stairs to the temple doors cannot be reached. A stalwart phalanx of champions of the faith blocks the way, with Jian in the lead. They are joined by the Inquisitors, those who have decided to walk the path of the old faith until the very end. I will not allow you into the temple, Lennart. These heretics will not make you patriarch. Father Lennart slowly begins to ascend the stairs. He does not argue with Jian. The abbot simply faces her with a humble smile and gestures to the people standing behind him. Doubt clouds the champions' faces. Lennart's procession is truly staggering. Even if they are mere commoners, even if they are unarmed and empty-handed. There are simply too many of them to be stopped by the few dozen old believers. Sister Jeanne, look at them. Are they truly heretics? All of them? They are just people, our brothers and sisters in faith. Why would the Inquisition treat us like enemies? We do not reject the twin gods. Nay, we seek them with our every thought. You rejected the law of the younger when you chose to seek your own lots. No, Jeanne, the only thing we reject is Isateus' error. This argument has been going on for years, Lennart. I know each and every point you can make. Don't even bother. You will not enter the temple. And all these people, you're just dragging them down to the foot of the pillar along with you. How can you still not understand that this after so many years? What do you think you're doing, Lennart? Don't you fear the wrath of the gods? I do not, Jeanne. When I become patriarch, I will tell the twins that we still love and revere them just as we always have, even as we seek a different path to them. The twins will hear us. They will listen. They will understand. There will be no wrath of the gods. The new believers heed Lennart's words. They begin to firmly ascend the stairs to the door of the temple. The champions' swords do not deter them. Jeanne watches the massive congregation approach her, her eyes filled with remorse. She raises an arm, about to give her final order. Champions of the faith, protect this sacred temple. Fight to the bitter end. You reach the foot of the stairs as she speaks these words. This is your last chance to intervene. Well, a lot of options, but only 2 choices are available. We can either fend them off with the champions of faith, or we can walk away. Gotta say, this is looking like the better choice. Looking like a really good choice, actually. We'll get a -1 to revolt, which we need. We get a +1 to troops. We get a +1 to clergy, which we need. And we get a -1 to common folk, which is okay because we got 3. So I think I'm going to pick this choice. You need to drive the commoners away from the sacred temple. There can never be peace between the Inquisition and the new believers. Sister Jeanne is right. The dispute between them has been going on for years. Neither side will ever yield to the other. Right now, there's only one thing you can do. Rescue as many of them as you can from what is to come. Go, in the name of the younger. The champions of faith obey Jeanne's order. They get into formation and begin advancing on the new believers, weapons in hand. The unarmed mob recoils in fear, but those in the front row are pushed from behind and driven into the blades. Blood splatters onto the stairs of the sacred temple. Wow. The priests are killing people now. A woman's scream of rage rends a momentary silence. Murderers! A lot of yelling. Chaos breaks loose. The champions of faith try to advance on the people, but the enraged horde will not be driven back. They rush at the warriors, trying to break their ranks by sheer force, dragging or knocking them to the ground one by one. No, stop! Do not do this. Do not resort to bloodshed. The abbot does his best to rein in his flock, but they will not listen. You shout to your followers, now! Your people join the fight. Side by side with the champions of faith, you try to hold back the commoners. It is an arduous task. They are unarmed, but they greatly outnumber you. Hold the line. Behind you, the inquisitors raise thin silver slabs and shout incantations. Flurries of silver sparks spread across the front lines of the jostling mob, binding them with the power of the twins. They collapse, but others immediately take their place. Hold the line. Every minute of this fight feels like an eternity. Eventually, the furious onslaught seems to subside. You catch a glimpse of Jeanne. She throws away a fading slab of silver and clutches her sword, then breaks the line and dashes forward with a fearsome cry. She's headed straight for Lennart. The abbot struggles to remain on his feet. In the frenzied human storm raging around him, It takes him a moment to notice Jian, her ceremonial blade raised aloft. Lennart meets her with a confused look. His arms are moving slowly, trying to shield his face, but it's too late. It is too late. The Inquisitor strikes. At the last possible moment, the rage on Jian's face gives way to terror. She leans into her swing with all her might and guides the blade aside. It slips out of her hand. The battle still rages around you, but you clearly hear the steel clatter against the marble slabs of the stairs. My child! A moment later, a heavy stone flies through the air and hits Jian square in the side of the head. She yelps and falls down. Hurry! You need to reach her before she is trampled. A mighty gust of wind rushes over the square. It roars, howls, almost screams, filled with remorse, agony, and wrath. An unearthly chill runs down your spine. This is it. This is what Sister Jian told you about. The earth begins to tremble beneath your feet. Before your very eyes, as though in some terrible nightmare, the roof of the sacred temple begins to shake, and the pillars start to sway back and forth. Oh gods! You turn to your followers and scream at the top of your lungs, gesturing wildly to the Inquisitors. Fall back, hurry, follow me. The commoners try to flee the square, darting down back alleys, trampling one another. For you, there is nowhere to run. Only the trunk of the silver tree offers some protection. So you rush to the white trunk as fast as you can. The world is turned upside down, like a kaleidoscope shaken by a massive hand. For several seconds, everything blends together. You fall flat on your back. Where the temple of the silver tree once stood, there is nothing. The grand, majestic structure is no more. It has been leveled to the ground. Remnants of its walls and roof are scattered across the square. The stairs that once led to it have been ground into gravel. But the massive trunk shielded you from the falling rubble. A cloud of dust slowly settles upon the square. After the dust comes the leaves. Thousands and thousands of leaves shed by the silver tree. They cover the corpses of the truly dead like a pale white shroud. The entire square glows as the bodies of those yet to be reborn dissolve into nothingness. There are so many that the light stings your eyes, even through the thick dust that still hangs over it all. Just how many people met their deaths today? You stagger to your feet, and go to where you last saw Jian. You find the Inquisitor in a small space between two shattered slabs of stone, curled up into a ball. Her body shakes as she sobs uncontrollably. All is lost. All of it. Everything. I couldn't do it. Couldn't see it through to the end. Do you understand? I betrayed them. I couldn't kill the heretics. The temple is gone because of me. The Inquisition is gone because of me. You gently tap her on the shoulder. That isn't so, you tell her. The Inquisitors and the champions are all safe, and Lennart is dead, buried in the ruins of his own temple. But Jian was spared from the wrath of the gods. What is she saying? How could she possibly think she betrayed them? Jian grows silent. She slowly rises to her feet, breathing heavily. You don't understand. All of this. Just leave me be. The young woman walks away from you, unsteadily. A few steps away, she stops, her arms crossed. She stares at the ruins. The captain of the Champions of Faith approaches you. I'm afraid Sister Jian won't be able to command us from now on. My champions owe you their lives. What are your orders? David Agaranim. First time we've seen him. You have to take the lead, so you begin mustering your forces and getting ready to move to Empire Square. Enormous crowds of people are already on their way there, about to choose the leader of the Anazote Rebellion. The sun slowly begins to set. Well, Jian is defeated. And Father Lennart is no more. Strange how the temple crumbled. I guess, something happened with the tree that caused that. Alright, all of a sudden we have an army now. And then a 2-2. And the revolt is down back to 2. The rebel leader. The sun is setting. The blood-red sky quavers in the hot smoke from the fires raging throughout the city. You cannot help but recall a passage from the lives of the twins, one of the many pages Mother used to quote when you were a child. And the elder said, "Lo, I have cast a flame onto the world, and I shall guard it until it begins to blaze." Could this passage be referring to today? You lead your followers to Empire Square. You walk around rubble, past abandoned carriages and unfinished barricades. There have clearly been clashes here recently. The dust of the departed is still rising into the sky. Thousands fill the square before the Chancellery. Well over half the commoners of Anazote. The Chancellery has been under rebel control since noon, and Imperial officials either fled or were torn apart by the mob. Scraps of rumors and gossip reach your ears as you move closer. Did you hear what happened at the Great Tree? It's the Inquisitors. They started slaughtering folks. They grabbed them swords of theirs and started killing unarmed people. Leonard's procession made it to the temple. There was a sign from the twins. Oops, I missed something. All lies. The twins got angry and destroyed them all under the tree. The temple's gone. I tells you, gone for good. The crowd is on edge. Any dispute could explode into a brawl. A voice from the Chancellery stairs calls for another people's court. The mob turns as one. Several last-straw rebels drag a handful of well-dressed nobles out onto the steps and force them to their knees. The leader of the executioners is a preacher with a mane of unkempt hair and the wild eyes of a lunatic. Yeah, look at that. Father Foude. The younger, he speaks through us. He does. He gave us the power of his law, the power to punish our enemies, to execute them. Anyone who stands in our way is an enemy of the twins themselves. People, it's time to judge these enemies of the simple folk. What is your sentence? The mob roars so loudly, the squares shake. Death, true death. The last straw rebels ready their guns. One of the captive gets... I'm gonna try this all over again because I'm struggling here. The last straw rebels ready their guns. One of the captive gets to his feet and speaks out defiantly. Oh hey, it's Eliberius. You dare call this pathetic freak show a people's court? You don't have the power. You never have, and you never will. You think you can wield the law of the twins? Bah. We'll come back, and we'll make you pay. The aged nobleman's last words are drowned out by a thunderous volley of gunfire. One by one, the nobles collapse, their bodies pierced by bullets. They remain where they fall. The mob gasps in amazement. There can be no doubt. The People's Court has the power to mete out true death at will. This is what happens to anyone who dares to oppose us. All hail the revolt. All hail our leader. All hail Sophia. Sophia's gonna lead us. She's gonna fend off the Legion. She's gonna bring justice. First to Anazote, then to the whole empire. She's gonna tear down the old ways and wipe all them tyrants and nobles from the face of the world. The mob explodes into an ecstatic chant. They shout one word over and over again. Sophia, Sophia. The enormous throng bellows wildly, eager to see the face of its leader. Okay, well, a lot of choices, not much that we can pick from, though. So, well, I'll look through all these choices that we can't pick. And then, I guess, I'll make a choice here. I think it would be best if we break up the mob. Definitely. So let's go ahead and do that. You order your men to break up the mob so the rebels cannot unify the people under their banner. If Sophia manages to unite the mob around her leadership, the revolt will consume the entire city. You cannot let that happen. If there is ever a time to strike, it is now. Sophia has not yet shown up. You seize the moment and command all your forces to begin an all-out attack on the square. Your troops smash into the human sea in front of the chancellery, hurling people aside and hacking through the throng as they advance. As you command them, you shout at the mob to the top of your lungs. Leave the streets, go home, and you'll be spared. Whoever stays here will face our blades. The rebellious rabble did not see the attack coming. Your forces are resilient, and the crowd panics. The rebels have no choice but to flee. Dozens of people fall to the ground in the mindless jostling throng, only to be trampled by the fleeing horde. Blood runs into the cobblestones. The corpses of the killed dissipate in shimmering mist. A lot of blood. A lot of death. Before long, your men control the blood-splattered square. They celebrate their victory with joyous cries. But a voice simmering with rage soon cuts through the air with the direction of the chancellery stairs. The last straw. Ready. Aim. Fire. The rebel squads dash out of the chancellery, firearms in hand. The volleys come in quick succession. A hail of bullets hits the square, sparing no one from either side. Commoners trying to escape die along with your soldiers. You are losing men. The last straw's position is too strong here. You cannot advance to the chancellery in the face of their gunfire. Out of options, you order a retreat. You breathe a sigh of relief once the last of your men have left the square. The deed is done. You lost too many men, and Sophia is still running amok. But you still manage to deal a resounding blow against the revolt and shatter the rebels' morale. The news that you dispersed the mob at Empire Square spreads throughout across the city like wildfire. The nobility and old faith clergy celebrate this victory, more eager than ever to keep fighting by your side. A report soon arrives from the scouts and the gate. The Legion is only a few hours away. The final battle is drawing near. What will the outcome of the revolt be? Will the outcome of the revolt be decided in combat? Or is there a peaceful solution? It all depends on the actions you take in the coming hours. Okay, well, we got power to -3, and we've got order to 6. The rebels are losing. We lose 1 to troop, but we still have a good amount. And we are now the indisputable troops of the nobles and the clergy. And willpower down to 10. So this is it. This is night. The final hour. Before that, I think I'm going to look through all of these one last time. And don't need to look at the map. Look at the twins there. Elborn has died. Mayor Egmont, Remiel Vermin, and Father Lennart have all died. Our family is still all alive for the most part, I'm fairly certain of. So, we've got like 2 options here. Either we get a peaceful victory, which we've got the power, we've got the common folk, we've got the clergy, we've got the nobles, we've got the troops, and we got the revolt. We have this, I'm pretty sure. So, there's nothing much else to do but finish this off. Before I do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this, leave it on a cliffhanger, and it'll probably be final episode coming next. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I love you. Not really.